Hi, welcome to my channel. On today's video, I'm going to talk about how to install roll-up door on a metal building. First of all, before you even get started, your uprights and your overhead for your door all need to be true to size. If you're doing a 10 by 10 door, make those openings 10 by 10. The next thing, you need some tools, socket set, some stuff like that. I put a little list in there. You know, and Mueller has a really good video on how to install one of these doors. You can check that out if you want to, or you can follow along. Hopefully I can get you where you need to be. So after you've sorted through your hardware a little bit, you need to get this triangle piece and 3 bolts. And you need to determine which side of the door you want your hand chain to roll the door up to be located on. And with your door laid out in position, go ahead and install that triangle piece with the 3 bolts and 3 lock washers that are supplied with it. In addition, it's going to have a chain drive sprocket that's going to go on there. You can see it right here in this photo. And you're going to tighten that down with a wrench. I believe those are 9/16. The next part of this assembly is going to be the chain drive mechanism. It slides over the axle. Don't tighten it down yet. That's a later step. The next thing is you're going to get the piece of like bicycle chain that comes with it, and it should have a connect link with it. You're going to feed that around both of the sprockets and use the quick connect link and link those together. After that, you need to get the chain drive and feed it through the chain drive mechanism, and you kind of have to spin it around to feed it through there. It's a little bit strange, but you'll figure it out. And then the next thing is you have to separate a link on that chain. I usually use 2 pair of pliers and just kind of manhandle it a little bit, and then link those 2 chains together and bend them back straight, kind of like you see us doing right here. It's kind of hard to video and do this all at the same time. Alright, now your door is pretty much ready. On the axle, before we move on, we need to install this, I don't know, it's like a one direction tension thing. It goes on the chain drive side, and it has an indicator to tell you which side to place it towards the wall. And on the side where there isn't a chain drive, it'll just get one of the standard axle mounts. And you can see there where it has the wall indicator. And don't be scared. A lot of times we get doors that have extras of these. Like it may have like 4, but you need 1 on the off side and the tension style one, the one direction one, on the chain drive side. To switch and start thinking about the tracks and the brackets. What I like to do is put a track up on the upright and put a level on it and make sure that it's level. Use a 4-foot level here. Accuracy is really key. If you're going to make an error, it's better to have the tracks be too wide at the top than too narrow at the top, because the door won't feed in. It'll help you out too. Don't overdo it with the fasteners, the bolts for these. Just put 1 screw at the top and 1 screw at the bottom. Those screws are a 3/8 drive, and it's usually handy to have a magnetic extension for your impact for this part. I almost forgot, at the top of the track, now's the time. There's 2 carriage bolts, and they'll have lock washers, and they should be 7/16 drive. Go ahead and put those in. It'll make putting the door stops in later on way easier. The next thing I would do is I'd measure the actual width of the door. Generally speaking, they're about 4 inches wider than advertised. And I make my track, I create an allowable tolerance. If you can see here, I'm trying to show that there's about a 1/4 inch. The track is wider, a 1/4 inch on both sides than the door. With that tolerance in mind, measure across and install the second door track. Next, you need to install the brackets that came with it. The small bracket will go on the non-chain drive side, and the big bracket, the big black plate, will go on the chain drive side. They supply carriage bolts to put these on. I usually just weld them in place. This is the part when I install these brackets where we use the laser transit, because we need to be really accurate installing these plates, because if we're off a 1/4 inch from one side to the other over 10 feet, it'll make the door track down at an angle and get in a bind. And then it has carriage bolts, and I believe these are 9/16, and they come with a washer and a lock washer, and we put those on and tighten them up. Generally speaking, on the non-chain drive side, I go to the widest set of holes, and then on the chain drive side, I go one set of holes in from the widest. Alright, it's time to hoist that door up there in place. And I want you to think about the diameter of the door is going to be determined by how tall it is, and the bracket hangers have slots. If you have a 16-foot tall door, you need to use the slots that are further away from the wall, and if you're using something like a 10 or a 12-foot door, use the slots that are closer to the wall. Before you tighten down the red set screws for the axle hangers, be sure to make sure the door and the track align like I'm showing right. Now it's time to tighten down all the red set screws. Be sure that the bottom of the door is pretty much hanging down and in line before you do that. Also, when you tighten the chain drive, make sure that the sprockets are lined up. It's not crooked. If it's crooked, it'll jump that chain off sometimes, and it's easier just to give that a double check before you tighten those down. All these little red set screws can be tightened with I think it's a 10mm. 3/8 might work as well. Alright, on this next part, I couldn't get a video of it, but you need to turn the door 2 turns in the direction of travel as if you are lowering the door before you cut the pink wrap off. And definitely keep a hand on that chain, because now that it's tightened down, the red set screws, you can actually operate the door with the chain. Once you get the pink wrap cut off, then you can start the door into the track and begin lowering the door. As soon as you get the door very much lowered down, it's good to go ahead and put the roll-up stops in. If you remember back, we preset those 7/16 carriage bolts in place, and as you can see, the door's in the way when you can't get your fingers in there, but you don't have to now since we already got them set up. So go ahead and put those stops in, and the next thing will be the door hardware at the bottom. The next part's a little bit hard to explain. There's an assembly that's going to have a slide mechanism that's used to lock the door, and it also has a plate that is sort of a U shape, and that's to serve as a handle. There's a nut in one of the boxes or whatever in the hardware kit that serves as a spacer so that you can tighten this system down and it doesn't put tension on the slide lock. I tried to take some pictures where you can see what that looks like. Keep in mind, you're going to have to take some bolts out and move them over and use some bolts that are supplied, but at least you have an idea what the assembly looks like. Alright, and the last thing you need to do is roll that door up, and don't forget about those 3/8 self drillers. We need to put the rest of those in the door tracks. And they usually supply a chain latch that we usually mount on a purlin. Just throw some sheet metal screws in it or some of those 3/8 drillers, and just like that, you've got a metal roll-up door installed. I hope you found this video useful. We'll see you guys on the next one.